All right, we are live. We are live. Yo, what is up, guys? Man, it's your boy Mac here, and I just wanted to talk to you guys for a little bit. I had to figure out this whole YouTube streaming platform thing. Like, I haven't streamed to YouTube before. This is my first time doing it. I usually just stream on Twitch, but I decided it's better to just do it on YouTube, and it'd be a nice, cleaner. Like, I don't have to do too many, back and forth switching type of things. YouTube, upload the video, like that. So I'm not going to take that much time today. This podcast is going to be pretty short. I'm probably only going to be about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 tops. But I want to talk about just a few players tonight. Four in particular I want to talk about. Those players being Brandon Jones, Bobby McCain, Eric Rowe, and Devonta Parker. Three of those players being defensive side of the ball, and one of those players being offensive side of the ball. But the first name I have written down is Brandon Jones. There's also a fifth name I want to write on this list, and that's Noah Igbinoghene. So, I'm going to start with Noah, all right? So, Noah was a cornerback we drafted in the first round from Auburn. He was converted wide receiver. I'm sorry, he was a wide receiver converted cornerback, and he had a decent. I'm not gonna say decent. He had a pretty good year at cornerback for Auburn, and Auburn's in the SEC, so I will give him some love. Like, he had to play against some top competition. He played in a conference where they actually play defense, unlike the Big Ten, Pac-12, et cetera, et cetera. So, with that said, I don't think he was worth the first round we gave to him. And I'm not saying that he's not going to turn into a player. I just think at this point in time, he was a pick we did not need, and I think we could have got a better player for the value. Now, me personally, I'm a big Grant Delpit fan, and I sure enough thought that we were going to draft Grant Delpit with that first round pick we used for Noah. Obviously, we didn't. And also, Grant Delpit did eventually tear his ACL, so he really didn't play. So we don't even know if Grant Delpit could even be a player, but I thought the potential for Grant Delpit to be a successful NFL player was much higher than Noah. I didn't hear about Noah until he was drafted. I started looking up his games and stuff like that. And like I said, he did have a pretty good season. I don't think it was first round caliber. If I had to grade him, I would have said second, maybe early third, somewhere around there. I don't think he was. He should have went where he went. I think we did reach on him a little bit, but I'm not saying Noah's going to be traded or cut from the team or anything like that. I'm just giving my little rundown of his season. He did play a big part early on in the season when Byron Jones got hurt. But as it turns out, he was a liability. He was a dead body out there. We can definitely tell he was not ready. Now, I'm not saying that he will never be ready, because we've had wide receivers or converted wide receivers on our team before with Tony Lippett. And Tony Lippett did take him, season or two. He showed potential, and then, he developed and he became okay. He was our number one corner at one point, and yes, he did have the, I think he tore his Achilles injury, and then, bygones be bygones, he's in the past. But I'm not saying Noah will not be a good player for our organization. I think he was. We reached for him. I think eventually he will develop, especially getting another offseason under his belt. Well, getting an actual offseason under his belt, I think he can contribute to the squad as the slot cornerback. But with that said, you cannot be getting beat out by Nick Needham. I'm going to say that right now. If you were getting beat out by Nick Needham, there is a problem. So we're going to look and see next season how he decides to improve his skill of play. But that is my take on Noah Igbinoghene. Moving on to the next player on the list. The next player on the list we got is Brandon Jones. Now, Brandon Jones was a rookie in that same draft class as Noah. He was a 5th round pick, I believe, from Texas. And going into the pick, I did not think that Brandon Jones was going to be a player. I watched some of his film, and I didn't see like nothing like really like stuck out to me. I watched a lot of his games, his final year at Texas, to just kind of know because I didn't know who he was really, and so I wanted to just gauge what type of player he was and whatnot. And from what I gauged from just like looking at his profile, his combine, and just looking at his overall games, he's a smart guy. He 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 was light footed. He did a lot of things that I liked in a safety. I think he's more suited for the free safety position, which he played a lot of this season. I don't think he's like a thumper or anything like that. Like he's not going to clean the plate of someone going across the middle or anything like that. But he did, you know, do good in coverage zone and whatever the case may be. And I think that's something the Dolphins have been missing for a few years. We haven't had a good linebacker since Rashad Jones. I'm sorry, linebacker. We haven't had a good safety since Rashad Jones. And looking at what he brought to this, 2020 season, I feel that he should have been on the field a lot more early on, because he was eased into the swing of things, and I think he deserved to be put. Should have been a more focal point early on because the kid balled. More particularly, he balled when we played the Patriots. I believe it was the second time we played the Patriots when he caused Cam Newton to fumble. But other than that, he's a sure tackler. I didn't really see him out there missing tackles. He played the run. He made the tackles when the tackles needed to be made. I didn't really see any mistakes from him. I really didn't see any mistakes from him. I saw more mistakes from our veteran in Bobby McCain that I saw in Brandon Jones. Not saying he didn't make any mistakes, but nothing really come to mind when I think of Brandon Jones. I think he's going to take over that free safety role. I think he's going to be a good player if he keeps developing. And I think, honestly, I don't think he'll be better than Minkah Fitzpatrick. But I do feel that with him being in that free safety role, he can fill that void. I don't think he's going to be a ball hawk like Minkah was with Pittsburgh. I don't think he's going to get a lot of interceptions in his career. I think he's going to be that player who does what he's supposed to do, make the plays he's supposed to do, and he may give you a few highlight plays every now and then, but I think that's about it. And again, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he can't have the potential to be a Pro Bowler. We don't know, but I do like I did like what I saw for him this past season. But moving on to another safety that's on our roster, Bobby McCain. Now, Bobby McCain, man. I loved me some Bobby. I did. His first 2 seasons with Miami, I loved. Coming from Memphis, smaller guy. He wasn't expected to make the team, be honest with you. And fun fact, the only reason I knew who Bobby McCain was because I used to love NCAA 14. I used to play the hell out of NCAA 14. And one day I decided to use the Memphis Tigers. And Bobby McCain was on that squad. And I remember I was like, yo, this 5'9" whatever cornerback is actually pretty good. So, I got the updated rosters. I finally found out who his name was, and I started watching him. From that point forward, I started watching his games at Memphis and stuff like that. Watching his highlights, I wanted to see who this guy was. And it just so happened the Miami Dolphins drafted him. So he was one of my hopefuls to make the squad, and he did make the squad in 2015 when he was drafted. He ended up becoming a starter, and he brought this aggressive nature to the team, because at that slot, deadly. 1 second. Yo, my apologies for that important phone call. So, continuing on with Bobby McCain, he brought something to the team that we needed. He played that slot like it was meant to be his position. He did a lot of things right. Sometimes he got beat, sometimes he didn't, but that's the growing pains of kind of being that slot guy, especially when you're pretty much covering the fastest guys on the field. Generally the fastest guys go in that slot position, and he was covering them for the most part. Him and Julian Edelman did have some go at it from time to time, especially going at it twice a year. So overall, I think Bobby McCain did have a good early start to his career, those first 2 years, and then he transitioned into a safety with the Brian Flores here. Personally, I don't think that was the right move for him. I think he's an undersized safety, and I know on paper he's 5'11", 190 something, but honestly speaking, I think he's a little undersized for that safety position. Plus, with the 3 safeties that I know we have a fourth. I can't remember his name, but and we're not going to talk about the guy we got from the Bengals. Like that dude's a dead body. All right, 100% dead body. But speaking on, and if you don't believe me, I want you to go back, watch that Kansas City game, and tell me Fajilum or whatever the fuck his name is not a dead body. But because he didn't play a single down after he let I believe it was Tyreek Hill score over the middle. But moving on to Bobby McCain, he transitioned to free safety. I don't think free safety is his natural position. I think he's more of a slot, and he should have stayed at a slot. But this Brian Flores defense wants more versatile players, to spread the field. And I just think he fell off, and he's not the Bobby McCain. I know in 2019 he did have, I want to say, a hip injury, I believe it was, or hip or shoulder. I think it was a shoulder injury he had, and he missed a lot of time. So, coming into the 2020 season, he was supposed to get a full year, which he did play a full year. I'm pretty sure. I think he missed maybe 1 or 2 games. I think he did later on in the season get less playing time towards the end. I do remember one play in particular where I don't know what Bobby McCain was doing. Bobby McCain ran more yards than I want to say it was Nelson Aguilar when we played the Raiders, when Nelson Aguilar got that deep touchdown. But I do see Bobby McCain being on the trade block and or cut just to save cap space, because I do see Brandon Jones being his replacement at free safety, or just in that safety spot in general. I don't think we should be paying Bobby McCain as much money as we were, where we can probably get a better play and better performance out of Brandon Jones for the full season. But it depends. Like I said, they want this whole versatile offense. I think Brandon Jones can play the linebacker, but I think Brandon Jones is around 6'2", 200, 205, somewhere around there. He could be smaller. I don't remember. He looks bigger on the field in pass, but he could be smaller. But that's my take on Bobby McCain. I think he might be traded or he might be cut going into this season or after this season. I believe he's under contract for this season and next, but we'll just play it by ear. Moving on to the next player, Eric Rowe. Listen, I'm not a fan of Eric Rowe. He can cover tight ends, though. I will say that. Other than that, he is a dead body, and he cannot cover Darren Waller, but not many people can cover Darren Waller, so I give him a pass on that. But I just see Eric Rowe. If I see Eric Rowe or Bobby McCain, one of them are going. If it's not this season, next off season, one of them are going. I don't know which one's going. They really not. They're versatile. I think Eric Rowe is probably the more versatile out of the two. I don't see Bobby McCain covering tight ends, especially at 5'10", 5'9". I don't see him covering tight ends. But I do see Eric Rowe can be a cap casualty, or he could be traded. More so, I think he'll probably be cut if we do anything with him. And the same for Bobby McCain. I don't see us trading him. We could possibly do it. Chris Greer has surprised me before. I mean, hell, we traded Ryan Tannehill and got what we got out of him. So it can be done. Moving on, next player I want to bring up is, the next and last player is Devonta Parker. Now, Devonta Parker, man, had a great 2019 season. 2020 came around, and, well, he didn't have that great of a season. He was plagued by injuries. He was also played with multiple quarterback switches. But when your sole purpose is to catch the ball, unless the ball is thrown to you, it's pretty much a 50-50 whether it's catchable or uncatchable. So I think he had about 800 yards and maybe 50 or 60 something catches. And I know I'm pretty sure he was our leading receiver. It was like him and Gesicki probably neck and neck. And here's the thing about Devonta Parker. He's going into his last year of his 2-year contract extension, which we got pretty much a good deal on him because after he signed the extension, he went on to have a Pro Bowl type year. And then this year, he really didn't have a Pro Bowl type year. So I'm thinking if our wide receiver if we do draft a wide receiver, if we have Preston Williams, Jakeem Grant, Lynn Bolden, and all those guys are healthy and they're performing, and we can do without Devonta Parker, especially let's just say for instance we draft Jamar Chase for our rookie and he has a Justin Jefferson type of year for the first half of the season. I can see us not wanting to pay Devonta Parker and see if we can get a second, maybe a third, hell, maybe even a first with Chris Greer out of Devonta Parker in the upcoming draft or next year. It doesn't really matter. But I can see Devonta Parker being traded. I do like Devonta Parker. I think it did take him a little bit to bloom. I think the year we took him, I believe we took him in 2015. And I don't know. I felt we had better needs at that time than wide receiver. But then again, we did let, Jarvis Landry go. So we needed to, recycle, extend him. Especially at what we paid him, it was no point in not keeping him, So, but I can see him being traded. I don't see us just releasing him or cutting him. The only way he gets re-signed, I think, in my opinion, is if, God forbid, we can't find a trade for him, or he's just playing to the point to where we can't trade him. Because at this point, I believe Devonta Parker is pushing 28 or 29 this year, and then when you get closer to that number 30, teams start looking at you as you're going down. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not a proven commodity like a Devontae Adams, a Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, if you're not like a proven talent like that, when you're going to 30, then your value diminishes because at that point they're thinking that you're going to be regressing, going downhill, and probably give you the Madden treatment. So I think he's a candidate for the trade block. Possibly. Like I said, man, if he performs to the point where his value goes up and the rest of our wide receiver core performs next season, I can see him going. Now, if our wide receiver group does not perform and he still performs, I don't see us getting rid of him because it'll be pointless to get rid of your number one receiver, especially when you're a team trying to contend. That would be pointless. But those are the players. I had a couple more players I want to talk about, but I'll talk about those in another podcast. And again, the next podcast is going to be Friday of next week. I try to make them on Fridays, but obviously, first time streaming on YouTube. This past Friday, I couldn't do it because I had to wait 24 hours to get privileges for streaming on YouTube. So that's why this is on Saturday and not Friday, but I did want to make a video for stream for this week. So the next stream for next week will be on Friday. I want to say around 7 p.m. Go on for about an hour or so, maybe 2, depending on what topics I'm talking about and how many players. I'm thinking the players for next is a little preview. I'm thinking I'm going to be talking about Tua. God, I can't remember the offensive line dude name. Eric Flowers, Solomon Kinley. We're gonna be talking about Jakeem Grant, Jerome Baker, Van Ginkel. So we're gonna be talking about a good mix of players. So I hope to see you guys there. Hey, it's your boy Mac.